and gentlemen, I'm going to call the meeting to order. We have quorum. Thank you for attending tonight. And my name is Victoria Labruzzo. I am the Community Planners Committee's chair. And we are going to start off first with, is there any modifications to the agenda? And if you are online, please raise your hand if you want to be heard online. All right, hearing none, we're going to go ahead and do the roll call. When I call your name, please give me, or when I call your community name, please give me your name and that you're here. Okay, so we will start with Barrio Logan, Carmel Mountain Range. I guess I have to also give folks online a little time. Okay, Carmel Valley.
Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Encanto. Present. City Heights.
Good evening. This is Marcellus Anderson.
Thank you, Marcellus. Claremont. College area. Here, Yvonne Jones. Thank you, Yvonne. Del Mar Mesa. Downtown.
Bob here.
Eastern area.
Laura Rebo, I'm here on the phone.
Thank you, Laura. Greater Golden Hill. Kearney Mesa. Kensington Talmadge.
David Moty here.
La Jolla.
Here, Kathleen Neal. Oh,
Kathleen. Okay. All right, Linda Vista.
Felicity Sanofsky for Linda Vista.
You Midway. Mira Mesa.
Bo Gibbons from Mira Mesa.
Mission Beach. Let's see, Mission Valley.
Present, Joseph Tingloff.
Joseph. Okay, thank you. Navajo.
Here, John Hoy.
Okay, Normal Heights.
Paul Coogan here.
North Park.
Present, Lynn Elliott.
Ocean Beach.
Present, Andrea Schlager. Yes, did Kevin come to the meeting last one?
Okay, so we can vote. Great.
Yeah. Old Town. Otay Mesa.
Alan Krishani here.
Otay Mesa Nestor. Peninsula.
Eric Long.
Rancho Bernardo.
Vicky Touchstone.
Rancho Penasquitos.
Yes, this is Evelyn Heidelberg. I'm an alternate for John Becker this evening.
Thank you, Evelyn. San Pasqual Lake Hodges. San Ysidro. Scripps Ranch is here, Victoria Labruzzo. Sarah Mesa.
Good evening, Deb Burns.
Thank you, Deb. Skyline Paradise Hills.
There.
Southeastern. Tierra Santa. Torrey Hills. Torrey Pines.
Liz Shopes, present or in Zoom.
Thank you. University
Yeah, Chris Nielsen for University.
and Uptown.
We've got Matt Driver in the waiting room. So
Okay. That'd be 25 of Matt Driver.
joining
Matt Driver is Uptown. All right. Matt, if you can hear us, I've got you recorded. Okay, thank you, everyone. We are now going to move on to non-agenda public comment, where you have 2 minutes per issue that is not on the agenda. And we won't be having discussion or action for this, except if we establish a subcommittee. So is there anyone in person that has non-agenda public comment? Yes, sir. If you'll come up front, that will help us. I appreciate that. And yeah, Felicity will start your timer as soon as you start to talk. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for your time. My name is Bob Ternier. I live in Bayho. A recent news release celebrated the repair of hundreds of potholes in the mid-city and downtown areas funded by parking meter revenue. That's great news for those neighborhoods, but it raises an important question for District 2. According to PCI data, District 2 has some of the worst street conditions in our entire city. Our roads are deteriorating faster than they're being repaired. Residents feel it every single day in damaged tires, unsafe bike routes, and costly vehicle repairs. If parking meter revenue can fund major repairs elsewhere, then District 2, with some of the lowest rated pavement in San Diego, should absolutely be next in line. We're simply asking for fairness, transparency, and commitment to prioritize the committees with the greatest need. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else in person? Yes.
Hi, my name is Sage Gonzalez Holding. I'm Joy Valley Urban Encanto. I just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Russo and Ms. Felicity for going to the Rules Committee last week and presenting the seat at the table to them. So thank you for that. That was number one. The second thing I wanted to ask is CPGs are given, in my understanding, $500 a year to run the show. And they're asking us to do a lot of things, which is have an owl, know how to use it, create a website. I'm just wondering if there's any way that we could ask for more money. So that was my second thing. And then the third thing is the San Diego Housing Commission came by yesterday to my CPG meeting and presented. And they presented their annual budget to us, and their requirement is 3 CPGs in the city of San Diego. So I am not a planner. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just, a citizen. And I asked a lot of questions. But I think it would be important if they came and spoke to all of us here. And so, maybe it's not this year, or maybe it's next year, but they have a $711 million budget. I'm thinking that's a really big amount of money. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you. Thank you, Sage. Okay. Moving on, Eric, yes, go ahead.
I have one question about my little talk, and that was, we want to be next in line for the repairs, not for parking meters.
Okay, gotcha.
Clarifying.
Make sure to clarify that. Okay, thank you.
We have 2 on Zoom, the hand raised.
Yes, I've got Zoom too. I'm gonna.
Got it? Okay.
Yep.
My comments here are as a board member of the San Diego United Communities. It was brought to our attention by one of our board members from District 8, San Ysidro. The Housing Commission is pursuing 113 affordable unit, all affordable unit, between 30 and 60% of AMI, but all in one place, and is going to loan millions upon millions of dollars to the developer to make this project go forward. The interest of the community that was raised to us was, should we be putting all of these low income units all in one place? And anyone who's been to San Ysidro and other places in District 8, that that's kind of the modality. So seems to be totally inconsistent with affirmatively fair, furthering fair housing. I can never get that one out. And coherent, cogent planning to be able to distribute affordable housing into high and moderate resource areas. So apparently this is going to make the circuits around to the CPG and briefings at some time in the near future. But I asked that you raise this attention with your representatives and say, hey, that's not the right way. That's not according to the community plans, and it's probably not fair.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna move on to hands raised. We have Doreen, if you'll go ahead and unmute.
Hi, thank you. I'm speaking today under 2 separate people. I am speaking as the JNC chair. I wanted to update you that the city has still not updated any of our maps to comply with page 126 of our community plan. And I have received a couple emails that they're gonna do it, This process started in 2024, so it's been quite a while. And if any other CPG is having issues with the city's bicycle routes that are not matching the bicycle routes in the community plans, if your plans have them, please contact me because we might need support on these bicycle lanes violating that community plan. They were not put in the designated area, and there's been tons of car accidents. And now I'm back to my resident hat of Hamashaw, and I wanted to update you again that Skyline Paradise Hills had 4 Brown Act violations during their February meeting, and they're going to be getting a new complaint. There was a complaint in December against one member, and the city for moving non-agenda public comment to the end, and then they did not have it. So that's still with the San Diego County Attorney. We did have a conversation, but no results on that. The Brown Act, I missed the last meeting, unfortunately, because of health. But the Brown Act, when it comes up again, I really would like support from this group on changing the city council policy to make sure non-agenda public comment stays at the beginning of the meeting. When you look at legislators, every committee, it's always at the beginning. And since Joe LaCava, it's been moved to the end. Thank you.
Okay, next, Becky Rapp, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Becky Rapp, and I first of all just wanted to start off by recognizing and thanking our chair, Victoria, along with several others of this board for spending 2 days last week downtown advocating on behalf of all of our planning groups. So anyway, thank you for your commitment to our community. I'd also like to draw your attention to a specific agenda item heard this past week by the Active Transportation and Infrastructure Committee regarding the city's Vision Zero goals and what that means for our communities. So Vision Zero is a commitment to eliminate traffic fatalities and serious injuries on our streets. So lowering speed limits and redesigning streets are very important. And we thank the city for acknowledging the planning groups who raise these concerns. We know speed directly affects crash severity. So when drivers are attentive and sober, reducing speeds can absolutely save lives. However, we also need to recognize another major factor in severe and fatal crashes, and that is drug and alcohol impairment. And about 1 in 3 traffic fatalities is because of impairment. So speed limits are helpful when drivers are sober, but if a driver is impaired, a posted sign alone will not change behavior. Impaired drivers are less responsive and more likely to speed. So if Vision Zero is going to be effective, it's crucial that the city not just focus on speed management, but also on prevention. And that means city representatives should be including drug and alcohol prevention strategies, public education campaigns, and enforcement as part of the Vision Zero discussion. So a simple suggestion would be to remove billboards that promote and advertise marijuana and other drug use. As planning groups, we can and should encourage city staff to integrate impaired driving prevention into the Vision Zero plans. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next, Daniel Beeman, did you have a comment? You have to unmute. There you go.
There you go. Yes, I just had a general comment. I'm a hiker, and I noticed that there's a lot of mention ADUs going up, multi-ADUs going up, and there's some sewage sewage lines being put in the canyons. And I'm wondering why so much money is being put in on these sewer lines when the south side neighbors have been flooded multiple times. When I looked at the scheduling of this, it didn't say that this is supposed to be done until late 26, 27. So I'm just a little surprised and saddened that the funding mechanism isn't being put in the right way for these people that have been flooded out of their homes for 2 years now, get flooded every time the water rains. And I think we need to look about what's going on with these mansion ADUs that I see all over the canyons, looking down in the canyon. And I don't even know if they're paying taxes. So we're fixing all these sewer lines for whom? For the general residents or for people that have land interest and are making a lot of money off of something that we're trying to benefit, and the city council suggested was for affordable housing.
Okay, is that it? Thank you, Daniel. Okay, any other online or in-person public comment? Yes, sir. Go ahead, Jeff.
I want to talk about the city's recycled water program. And the way it looks to me, I'm in Carmel Valley, is that,
could you move over to the center and sort of face the whole thing?
do you want me to face this way?
Yeah.
Would that help? All right, the way it looks to me is that the pure water program has totally dried up the recycled water program for the north portion of the city. The north portion of the city is not allowed to even apply for recycled water after January 1st of 2024. There are other people in the south, or they're close to plant treatment plants can. And the reason I understand is that there's not enough wastewater being generated in the northern part of the city. So they're gonna try, their job at Pure Water is to take all the recycled water they can get their hands on and put advanced, treated further with tertiary treatment for drinking water standards, so they can send it up to San Vicente or where they want to for indirect potable reuse. So what's happening to our parks in Carmel Valley is there are any of the land that's considered non-functional cannot be irrigated per AB 1572 with drinking water. So since we don't have any recycled water, we're not allowed to even apply for it. We're going to lose our park lands that are considered non-functional. That's unacceptable to me. We have a recycled water program, but they won't allow it in the northern part of the city, which particularly is Carmel Valley. They run pipelines all the way north through us to provide a living hind with recycled water. But even the citizens and the ratepayers of San Diego and Carmel Valley area can't benefit from that. I think it's disgraceful. There is recycled water all the way up to the Del Mar Meadows Country Club golf course, but we can't get any across the 56. They're just immediately south of the SR 56. We can't get any, and I was hoping that we could pursue that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, all right.
I have one real quick one.
Oh, yes, go ahead, Paul.
Right now, the San Diego History Center is having an exhibit called San Diego's Lost Neighborhoods. And it's, I would say it'd be of keen interest to anyone that's interested in land use policy and how it's changed the landscape of San Diego. You can find it more at sandiegohistory.org. It shows it down below, Brian.
That's a great exhibit.
All right, thank you, Paul. Okay, we are going to move on our agenda, and we are moving to the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion? Let's see, let me make sure. If there are any changes to the minutes, I did have one public member request additional information put into the minutes. So I'll read what the request is, and it will require a board member to make a motion and a second in order to add it to the minutes. This is from Doreen Diaz-Pesta. And it was her minutes comment last month. And she specifically wanted to make sure this part was in there. The January Skyline Paradise Hills CPG meeting was canceled due to another complaint with photos of failure to comply with Ralph Brown Act, agenda physical posting, and CPC 600-24. The way Marlon does the minutes, we generally, I did get back to Doreen and let her know that we make a general statement about, what's transpired, that we don't make specific. These meetings are recorded. So if people do want to go back and actually hear the specific public comment, they can do that to get word for word. So, but a community member is allowed to ask for a change or amend the minutes if they want to, but it requires somebody to first motion and then second. Yes.
Regarding the Brown Act, what happened at Skyline Paradise Hills last month was the librarian changed. Okay, we got a new librarian, and the Brown Act was posted on the bulletin board, which is inside the lobby, instead of being posted on the window. So it was not the fault of the chair or anybody else on the planning committee. Okay, and as a result of that, the meeting was canceled. I went anyway in case the public showed up, because our meetings are also community meetings, people who want to see the police and the fire department, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the librarian was very polite and knows what the system is now. And as far as I know, until they change librarians, it will be posted in the window so people can see it for 72 hours prior to the meeting and of course with the Brown Act.
All right, thank you, Guy. So I either need a motion to just go ahead and approve the minutes as presented or with the amended comment. So if somebody would give me a motion, unless there's any other parts that. Yes, sir.
Motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay, North Park. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and call out the roll. Not the roll, but those that are here, for approving the minutes as submitted. Carmel Valley.
Wait,
Oh,
as amended or as submitted?
I'm sorry, as submitted.
As amended.
Oh, as amended?
He's accepting.
Oh, I thought you said submitted. And North Park, you said as amended, you are seconding the as amended. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I misunderstood the last word. Okay, so as amended. So we'll be adding that statement. Okay, if it passes. Okay, starting with as amended, Carmel Valley,
Yes.
Encanto,
Yes.
City Heights.
I will abstain. I was absent.
Okay, college area,
Yes.
downtown,
Yes.
eastern area,
Yes.
Kensington, Talmadge,
Yes.
La Jolla,
Yes.
Vista Vista,
No.
Mira Mesa. Bo Gibbons is he here?
Yes, sorry.
Oh, sorry. You're like, I already did. Okay, Mission Valley,
Abstain.
okay, Navajo,
Yes.
Normal Heights,
Yes.
North Park, Ocean Beach,
Abstain. Kevin hasn't gone back to me about.
okay, Otay Mesa,
Yes.
Peninsula,
Yes.
Rancho Bernardo,
Yes.
Rancho Penasquitos,
I'll abstain.
abstain, okay, Scripps Ranch, yes, Sarah Mesa,
Abstain.
okay, Skyline,
Yes.
Torrey Pines,
Yes.
University,
Yes.
Uptown. You there?
Not Trevor.
Matt, are you, I thought he was here.
He was. I don't see him now.
Did we lose him? Okay. All right, thank you, everyone. We will jump into our agenda item number 4, which I'm gonna be turning over to David and Chris as our land development code update. It used to be 2025, it's now 2026. We did spend a lot of time and we went to the planning commission together, the 3 of us. And so I'm gonna let them go through. So there were changes, there were updates. But hopefully our memo doesn't have to change a lot. So I'm gonna turn it over to Chris.
Okay, yeah, so I'll start and David can jump in if there are clarifications or corrections. And on some of the items, he's kind of the expert. So one overall comment is that the planning commission requested middle income AMI thresholds everywhere in the land development code to be raised to 120%, to be consistent everywhere. So that is a feature of the code. There, I think, are not too many. Most are at 120. There are a few at 110. Okay, now I'm going to go through the items that the PC made, or the Planning Commission made some recommendations on. And I'll just go through them. You might want to hold your questions till the end. And then we can discuss what a motion might look like for this. Okay, so we have those up here. Let's scroll down a little bit. Okay, so all right. Okay, so the Planning Commission recommended that the DIP waiver, which is currently exempt units less than 500 square feet, and the proposal was to DIP everything on a sliding scale, be retained if a development has 10% of its units 3 bedrooms or more. Okay, well, we'll see where that goes with the state. Okay, on item number 12, this is the definition of multiple and single dwelling units. The city staff attempted to make a universal definition in the definitions section of the chapter 11. And apparently there are issues with the language they chose. And city staff has removed the chapter 11 universal redefinition and amended chapter 14 only, and amended it for JADUs and ADUs. And the language there is that ADUs are not, don't make a house a multifamily unit. Okay, and that's also in accordance with state law. Okay. Number 17, which is setbacks for fire separation. This caused a lot of comment by various people at the Planning Commission. And it's not that there was opposition to fire separations, but the word setback in land development code means a specific thing. And what they wanted a replacement to in the language was that the word setback as in the proposed language be replaced by a reference to the San Diego Fire Department's defensible space. So if you have a development whose base zone has a particular set of offsets or setbacks, that additional space that the fire marshal requires be referred to as defensible space, not setbacks. And that's to make it easier for developers to define which is which. Okay.
And Chris, let me jump in back about number 12. Just one added piece of information. It had been, when we were seeing the 17 unit ADU complexes, one of the talking points of people was that an apartment that big would require personal open space or common open space and an on-site manager. And so by saying that these are not multifamily units, those things can't be required. On the other hand, they did then cap them at a much lower unit count than before. So it's a mixed bag.
What's it capped at?
Well, for the 5,000 square foot lot, you're looking at 6 units.
Okay, so it's per the ADU, they didn't cap it in this.
Right,
Like,
that was the
this-
previous.
This is like, okay.
Well, I thought anything more than 5 units was commercial property. Unless you're ADU. Anyway, yeah. All right, so I'll go ahead and continue. We can discuss this stuff afterwards if you want. Okay, number 25, which was the replacement of affordable dwelling units that are consumed when a new development takes takes place on a parcel, or a development. The original language allowed rehab units to count as deeded affordable. And that applies to several sections. And the city staff removed the word rehabbing from this section of the code, and in fact moved it to item number 29, a different code update. All right, but that does change our possible opposition to this one. We had it as opposed. And so we may wish in the final result to change this to not opposed, and to in fact change number 29, which was not opposed, to opposed, because the rehab unit option was added to complete communities and housing solutions. Okay, in this item. All right. So that's a little bit of confusion, but the city planning decided to fix that up. Okay, in a kind of a surprise, number 34, which had to do with landscape and protecting existing trees and shrubs, the planning commissioners particularly, and public comment, was concerned that trees and shrubs were not defined by the land development code, and it might require removal of mature, healthy, but non-conforming trees when a new development goes in. So there was a lot of back and forth about, well, can we fix this? And so the city planning agreed to remove this from this update. So the code will remain the same.
So number 34 has been removed.
Yeah, number 34 has been removed, yes. Okay. We discussed in the subcommittee number 38, which was shared parking regulations. As shared parking was moved, the distance between shared parking and housing was moved from 1,200 feet to 2,000 feet. And we requested, and state law leaves undefined what the path between those two things are. And we thought, well, you know, if you leave it undefined, you will get results you probably don't want. So we recommended that they at least apply the bicycle path standard to it as just something that had, you know, steepness and some items like that in it. The planning commission kind of just ignored that. Okay. All right, number 39 was a tentative map not required amendment, and we were not opposed to this. But the plan commissioners want to further study this due to the possible effect on EMX zones, which some commissioners thought was not well defined in the way the language was.
What's the accent?
It's a mixed use zone that emphasizes employment.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what they use for it.
Right, so the plan commissioners recommended that this be subject to further study on EMX zones. Okay, number 54 was an amendment that would that had to do with density bonus and affordable housing incentive waivers report. We suggested that the city make the form that developers would fill out a searchable form so that both staff, city staff, and the public could easily search for what incentives got used in a particular development. Because we are talking about density bonuses, and it's a very complex piece of code. So we suggested that be searchable, and the planning commissioners didn't do anything. But I think we will recommend that we try again at land use and housing, get some traction on this one and perhaps pass between sheriff department. Okay. Let's do any changes on, okay. Number 84, which was short-term rentals, the administrative citations. City staff removed this thing, so whatever code is in there now having to do with SDROs will remain in effect. The number 89 was had to do with wireless control facilities or power supply boxes, which are part of these in public right of ways. And we recommended that the recommendation of the planning department was to make this ministerial. We recommended that it be a process 2. That way it wouldn't clutter up the planning commissioner's agenda docket, but it would at least allow public comment on boxes that are put in the public right of way, which would then become part of the recommended project. And it could, if the practice becomes abusive and the boxes in the public right of way are poorly done or block traffic, there would at least be a record. Okay.
And on that topic, the Utility Undergrounding Advisory Committee was formed over at INAGO to address the issue of utility boxes poorly sited in the public right of way. I think there should be some traction on this item if they care about the public right of way where people are walking. It is not always the case that they do a good job of citing boxes, in the right of way.
And Joe LaCava was the chair of the
Utility Undergrounding Advisory Committee.
Advisory committee. Okay. Anyway, somehow the planning department's presentation of this ended up discussing things like moving process 4s to process 3s and process 3s to process 2s, and they didn't mention the ministerial part. So we have no idea exactly what got recommended, what the planning department was saying to that, and it's not like we can raise our hand and go, oh.
Yeah, what was being sold was not in the written code that we were.
So we've asked for clarification on that.
In other words, we don't have a seat at the table.
We do not raise our hands. Anyway, the PC did not recommend an amendment or implement our desire for at least a process 2. Okay. For number 91, which are the transition planes and buffers from freeways. And we know this has been in community plans a lot. We recommended a 45-degree ankle plane. City planning recommended 65. There was a lot of pushback from developers on this because certain community plan updates don't have that feature in there at all. That is, you can have a big building next to a residential area. If you look at the way the plans, the community plans are written. So this was something we opposed, and it was removed.
But not in a good way.
And not in a good way. So I think it's likely to end up as a free-for-all, and each community will have SDRs doing this, but there's no way of telling.
Yeah, just to be completely clear, we're wanting a lowers angle transition. And the planning commission was objecting to this one and wanted to make it this.
Right. Yeah, in some areas. Yeah, but the point is they weren't recommending a citywide 65. Okay, they didn't want that. So anyway, we don't know what's really going on there.
What is SDRs?
Those are
Supplemental development
development
regulations,
regulations.
like the CPAs for.
Yeah. Sorry, I shouldn't use the jargon. All right, for number 92, which was the in the transition zone between the accident potential zone and MCAS Miramar Airport. The current code is a site development permit inside the transition zone for allowing up to 60 DU an acre. The city wanted to allow this ministerially. We recommended the SDP stay in place. The planning commission supported the ministerial decision, but it also wants to expand it to other uses in the transition zone. And so, but we don't know what those uses are. Someone just said, got up in public comment and said, or the public comment part and said, you know, there are other uses that might still be compatible. So anyway, we don't know what they're really doing with this one. We will continue to advocate at Land Use and Housing for some clarity on this. All right, number 93 was to add childcare centers, and we agreed in subcommittee, and CPC approved language that said that this would be also an SDP. The planning commission supported it as written. Okay. All right. The number 102 was VMT buyout fee for mobility zones 2 and 3. We were opposed to this at the last meeting, and we do feel after some back and forth and hearing comments of the planning commission that maybe this is best addressed by amending council policy 800-14, which will determine how the decision is weighted in terms of allocating transit to various neighborhoods. And there may be a way of amending it that is more favorable than just a neighborhood, a neighborhood restricted fund, which generated a lot of opposition from the planning commission. Okay, so that's the report on what the planning.
You want to do 108 and 109?
Oh, 108 and 109, yeah, this was indoor lighting, lumen regulations, and what they have done is actually beneficial. They have reduced the threshold for applying the regulations from 6,200 lumens, initial lumens they call them, to 2,000 lumens. So the things like shielded lighting and stuff like that has a lower threshold, will have a lower threshold.
Does this apply to city lighting or to commercial as well?
This would be in the land development code, so it would apply to commercial. Yeah, commercial lighting. Okay.
But I don't think it would be limited just to commercial, depending on how they're putting it in the code.
Yeah.
It could affect also private development, depending on where it's situated on the lot, whether it projects off the lot, which is a code violation in many circumstances.
Yeah. Okay, so this was one that was added between the time we reviewed the February code and the time we went to the PC. And the last one was a spas and pool, required spas and pool to conform to electric or to be changed from gas or the existing use to electric upon replacement. And the pool and spa industry was there. And the city planners, assured them that the necessary equipment you could buy, which was their main concern, that there not be code in there that required you to use something you couldn't buy. Anyway.
Yeah, one of the commissioners actually said, I don't know that this exists. They literally said, in my practice, I don't know that this exists for every situation. And they assured him, oh, yes, it does. So I left it in.
All right, good for that. All right.
So if your pool heater goes out and it's gas, you got to put an electric one in. Yeah. That's what that is for.
And the spa and pool industry was on board with it.
Yeah, because that's more sales for their new electric that they assured everybody it's there.
And did SDG&E ask for this?
We don't know who asked for this, and we don't know when it was added or under what circumstances. Whatever it was added between February.
So are they just disallowing the sale of gas pool heaters then?
I think it's the, you need a mechanical electrical permit to change the pool heater. And so it would be enforced at that level. It would be unapproved.
If we're not allowed to put in a gas pool heater, then why are they for sale? I don't get that.
Well, I don't know about that. It's just that it would be enforced by development services when the plans are submitted.
It sounds like it's in anticipation of, the reductions of gas usage statewide.
Yeah, so it's part of general policy, but as I say, things got added last minute, we don't understand it all, but there you go. So anyway, what I would recommend, and David, you can help out on this, we need to craft a motion that would update this.
Yeah.
So we can send it to land use and housing, which I think, Marlon, is it gonna meet next Tuesday?
And use houses on Thursdays.
Thursdays. Thursday.
Yeah, I haven't seen it on the agenda for land use and housing. How long ahead of time do they post agenda for the meeting? It's next,
It'll be 72 hours for the meeting.
so it could still be on that agenda for next Thursday.
Yeah, anyway, we need to be prepared to send our updated copy of this to land use and housing.
So it's a question for the chair is, do you want to do comment from the committee first or do public comment and then we discuss the nature of the motion?
I have a comment. That we did not discuss, that I'll just put out there. We are making changes based on the changes they made. The one thing that we did not comment on were those last two additions.
Yes.
We didn't make a recommendation. So do we want to include that? As
We have no code language.
Well, they explained it.
But they never explained it to us in the context where we could ask staff a question in return.
Yeah.
They only talked at us at the meeting.
Yeah. So
So we couldn't oppose it because that.
Well, it's very dangerous to oppose one of these things or to agree with it if you don't know what the code language says.
So we've got to have a no comment.
I think it has to
Would be the best. Okay.
I think it has.
Be no comment or abstain.
Or abstain.
Hasn't been presented.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
we have a no comment category.
Yeah.
It has been used in this context to not comment on code update items that are only apply to one planning group. Okay, that's
Right.
or downtown.
So can that be clarified in the cover letter?
I think it is,
Comment
yes.
is not opposition or support.
Right,
I
no
think
comment
that's what we
means this
said.
item is a single CPG issue and not appropriate for CPC action. Was introduced late in the process after CPC acted or was amended, but the new code cannot be reconciled to a previous CPC decision. That's what our sheet says on the top, on the first page.
So let me open it up, the floor up to CPC subcommittee that had been following this first. Let me open the floor to that and then open up to further board comments. So if you were on the CPC subcommittee and you have a comment or question, now's the time, otherwise. Okay, I'll open it up then to the rest of the board, yes.
Yes, Kathleen Neal. So the question I have is, on 102, did city staff at planning commission agree then to remove that 102?
Yes.
So that's another one that's coming out of this cycle and will not be part of the final package.
No, I think you're confused. When she said thing 102, they did not.
Yeah,
know-
I'm talking about the
No.
BMT one.
No,
No, they did not.
That's our
they did
own-
not append that. They left it alone.
yeah.
So
that's
that
fine.
will go through to the final
Yes.
package as it's written.
Yeah,
Yes, that's written. And as I say, I think we are better off addressing or attempting to address this through 800-14, which David will be discussing in the Parks and Rec context
yes.
later in this meeting. So just keep that in mind as he's going through it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Any
that's a
other-
good clarification.
The only other thing I would say is if I were the one writing the letter, it be changes to your letter, which is fabulous, by the way. I would be tempted to pull 108 and 109 out of the no comment section and directly address the fact that that they were not given to public review in a timely manner so that it stands out.
Yeah, we should maybe make that
Clear.
public, no public review.
Right,
No notice, no problem.
no notice, no public review.
We can make that, happen.
But that's, the letter you put together is great.
Okay, other.
Yeah, Eric, and then I'll go back.
Yeah, I know this is probably hoping for too much. But was there any awareness in continuing to waive infrastructure funds and fee assessments in the context of being $8 billion in the whole infrastructure?
That was a general kind of thread, is that there were commissioners that were not happy with special exemptions for DIF and others that were. And the concern was, hey, if you don't exempt sub 500 square foot units, then you're gonna get fewer. But then, current policy is tilted towards multifamily housing. So I don't know how that fits in. You're screwed if you do and you're screwed if you don't, but I think everybody, my opinion is, just my opinion, everybody should be paying a dip. And that's just the way it is.
And I'd just like to add a comment, which is, I've not forgotten it, sorry.
It will come back.
It'll come back.
Yes.
Where's the general public a copy of the finalized document? And also, we're only the previews of the.
Yeah.
Last week.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I couldn't look at.
How would I get a copy of that?
Oh.
It's finalized.
I posted on the CPC website, not the city one, but the sdcpc.org, right?
Yeah.
sdcpc.org. I post all of our letters, any memos that go out, it's all on there under documents. If you look at the front page, the home page, the bottom, it says documents, click on that. And that opens up a Google Drive that lists all the files of everything, agendas, meeting minutes, everything.
I remembered what it was. Can we go to 17? And the point I wanted to make for everyone is just because the planning commission asked for something, if it doesn't show a staff action in red, 17, I think is what it is.
Right.
Well, it's not 17, it's the 500. Where is the 500 square foot? Yeah.
That's number 7.
7. Just because planning commission asked for this, staff didn't agree to it. So this proposal is going to go to the council as is. Planning commission's recommendation would be there, but it's a recommendation that's facing opposition from staff because staff did not agree to it.
Right, and the areas in there where we had the word removed is that staff did agree to remove them at the meeting.
Yes.
The concern was that, there's not much time to get this thing through. And so they were basically Christmas tree of code amendments and, preferences to remove and make a change and sort of stuff. This was something they could all agree on unanimously.
Okay, I have a hand raised online. I don't want to miss. Daniel, you had a question or comment?
First comment is thank you very much for your hard work, your diligence in looking at the plan.
It's really hard Daniel, it's really hard to hear you. I'm not sure if you're close to a microphone or what, but it's very hard to hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm at the library and I need to stop by myself.
We're getting a lot of noise on your microphone there. If you'll go ahead and type your comment into the chat, I can relay that.
Great, thank you. Yeah, okay. Any other, while he's typing his comment, hopefully in the chat, is there any other questions or comments? Yes.
So on this one, number 7, what's driving planning commission's So if the project has a lot of greater than 3 bedroom. It's,
Well, maybe I can answer that.
Yeah.
The city council has been talking about the need for more family style apartments. And so the city council is wanting to incentivize more 3 bedrooms. And they're believing that they're overbuilding now the super small units and believe that also that they should contribute to the DIF since they create impacts. So that's what you're seeing there and what the staff recommended, not what the planning commission recommended.
Right. So the concept was to, they've already slide, which means that the current code, the 500, under previous code, 500 square foot units were paying the same bid as 2 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms. Okay, that's clearly not fair in a generalized way. So this amendment was to implement a sliding scale over just completely based on square footage. And that also, removes the idea of these stair steps where if you go 1 square foot lower, you get an exemption, right? And if you otherwise you pay the full diff, or you pay the diff that goes with 500 square feet. And that is really not very sensible either. Okay, it should be continuous.
I see.
All right. And yeah.
Can you all, I didn't catch the 120% AMI.
Yes, there are several sections that show that were mentioned by the planning commissioners where and city code was updated for 120% of AMI in a large number of instances in this code update. But there are a few pieces of code that weren't amended that were still down at under 10%. And so for the sake of uniformity, they recommended that everything be, if it's sort of moderate income, that moderate simply be defined with an upper limit of 120% everywhere.
So if
Okay.
you're building,
So go ahead. Sorry.
or if you're building for sale affordable, then it would be 120% AMI would be the.
Yeah, and for renting, if you're in the category for renting, it would be 120%.
So they're raising it basically.
Yeah, except that it's raised almost everywhere already. So it's a few instances that people pointed out.
Thanks.
Okay, Guy, I'll call
Does that mean that the development impact fee is wiped out? Or does it mean that it's reduced by a percentage depending on how many 3 bedroom units are built?
I believe that if it satisfies the 10%, their proposal would be to waive it for 500 feet and for fewer than 500 feet.
So you could get a waiver on 90% of your structure if you put in 10% of 3 bedrooms.
Yeah.
That's quite a gimme.
That's quite a gimme, and somehow I don't think that's gonna survive. But anyway, that was their rationale. Okay, as David mentioned, PC actions that don't indicate an action in the staff input aren't accepted by staff yet. All right, and if the staff is gonna actively reconsider it, it's written in our comments. Okay, so.
Let's go to, Marlon, if you will, the current comment. What we did is we took our approved comment that we already presented. And that's what this is. And then we just did strikeout for our changes. So the red, so that first one, we don't oppose 25. And then 26 through 28. Because those were flipped, those were changed. And so you'll see it below as we go down below. We added in, we oppose 89, and then we added why we oppose 89. And then the outstanding items, we crossed out 25 and 89, and 12 was still tabled, right? Because they didn't make a decision with 12.
Right, 12
Okay.
city staff removed the definition. The only important definition in there they removed.
Right, that's right.
And then just made sure it was clear for ADUs that did not be multifamily, but it didn't apply to anything else.
So what we don't have on here and what's been suggested is putting a statement in here about 108 and 109. That we had no notice, no public review, and making a statement about those two.
Yeah.
So,
And then we would also then propose changing to opposition for 29.
Yes.
And we may or may not want to then go to support for 25.
Yeah, 25's language was perfectly okay, as long as it didn't have the word react. Yeah. All right, so I would suggest that we vote to approve 25 and oppose 29.
okay, if there's no other questions, and only because we have another presentation coming, I would like to have somebody make a motion if anyone would. Yes, Eric.
I would recommend approval as annotated here. As
With, yeah, with the amended comments.
yes.
Okay,
So that would be, yeah, the switcheroo from 25 and 29, the no public review comments about 108 and 109. Are we gonna say anything about 102 or leave it as is?
We still oppose it. I think that's, I think that we can keep that on the record.
Okay.
But we know that our path is probably a different way.
Yeah.
We want to affect change.
okay, so I have the comment as changed here with the amending 108, 109, opposing 29 and approving 25. Those would be the changes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a motion.
You have one more chance to review this with this before it goes to.
I'm gonna have, okay, Mira Mesa seconded, and, yeah, what we will be doing is the changes we're making right now is what we will take to land use and housing. I mean, we'll send this in again, and this will be in our comment to land use and housing, and we'll send it to all the powers that be.
And we're still looking for clarification on those wireless facilities. Don't even have some pictures. Which staff, I think, said they would try to get to us.
Yeah, which we can put in the email to them, but we can send it to.
Right, and then, we have another chance at the March CPC meeting to tweak the document probably one more time before April's city council, we don't know when that is.
Longest land code update ever.
Yeah, well, it matters if we comment at every stage.
Yeah.
This is better than just starting with C and forgetting it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I have a motion, I have a second. Is there any other conversation before we call a vote? Okay, then we will call the vote. The motion, this is item number 4, land use and housing update. Okay, starting with Carmel Valley,
Yes.
Encanto,
Yes.
City Heights,
Yes.
College area,
Yes.
downtown,
Yes.
eastern area,
Yes.
NC Tintone,
Yes.
La Jolla,
Yes.
Linda Vista,
Yes.
Mira Mesa,
Yes.
Mission Valley,
Abstain.
Navajo,
Yes.
Normal Heights,
Yes.
North Park,
Approved.
Ocean Beach,
Yes.
Otay Mesa,
Yes.
Peninsula,
Yes.
Rancho Bernardo,
Yes.
Rancho Penasquitos,
Yes.
Scripps Ranch, yes, Sarah Mesa,
Yes.
Skyline.
Abstain.
Okay, I need to go back with the abstentions with.
Say what?
Your abstention.
My
Lisa?
abstention? Very simple. We were not at the table.
Okay.
Years ago,
We don't need an
CPC,
explanation.
wait a minute.
No, that's
We're not talking about that.
No, I'm
We're
still.
talking about when the land development code is revised.
Guy,
In that, this
Guy.
is important. This is
I know,
important.
but we already passed that point of talking about this. We're now doing the vote, so let me finish the vote.
Fine.
Okay.
You wanted to know why I'm staying? I told you why.
Okay, thank you, Guy. Torrey Pines,
Yes.
University,
Yes.
Uptown,
We see if Matt's been having some kind of.
Oh, okay, so if he puts it in the chat.
He is.
I'm here. Yes. All right.
That's a yes.
That's a yes.
Okay, and let me go back real quick. Mission Valley. Your extension reason?
Do I have to give a reason?
Yes, you do.
All right, then I'll change it to a no.
Okay. All right, I think that's it. So Marlon, you count it up. Pretty sure it passes. And as soon as we have that. Okay, 1, 2, yes, 1 abstention and 1 no, I think.
I have 1 abstention, 1 no. I don't have the exact total here, but I think we're.
Yeah, I think that's right. Okay, all right, so that has passed and we will send in the amended information to land use and housing and everyone else. So we are gonna go on to rideshare. Thank you, Manny, for bearing with us through all this. So Rideshare San Diego is gonna talk to us about residential permit parking. And we'll get your PowerPoint up.
Thank you. Where would you prefer I stand?
You know what, just right up close to the screen, but in voice recognition from this speaker here in the middle. That speaker is the folks that are online.
Noted. And do I let Marlon notice? Next slide.
Yeah, I'll be on the keyboards.
More volume, please.
More volume?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time tonight. My name is Manny on behalf of Ride San Diego, Ride SB for short. First of all, thank you for what you do. I was a planning group chair for a few years as well, and I know it is a lot to keep a board happy and to follow up on community constituent, inquiries, and to also always be haggling your elected offices to fix problems in the community. So I know the work that y'all do, and I thank you all for that. And I also want to thank some of your groups who've already heard my presentation, as well as other stakeholder groups, including Neighbors for a Better San Diego Policy Committee, the San Isidro Planning Group, North Troy Planning Group, Kensington Challenge Planning Group. Have already, we're making the rounds, meeting with different community groups and stakeholders to get thoughts on an idea that many of those people in those groups think has merit. So let's talk about this idea, which is residential permit parking. But first of all, who here finds that many people are frustrated with residential parking? I see a few hands. Yeah, I mean, I hear it amongst my friends as well, or just anyone on the street. Like if you talk to a random San Diego on the street and have a conversation about like 15 to 25 minutes long, parking inevitably gets brought up in like some context. And so it's a frustration that is being felt across many communities. Some communities, particularly those in the urban core and the beaches, are feeling it a little bit more stronger than the rest. Ride SD, our organization, is seeking to improve transportation, and we don't like to see this frustration bearing down in our city. So we're meeting with a lot of groups and stakeholders to kind of figure out ways to address it. So that's what this presentation is about. Marlon, next slide. Great, so just a little bit about Ride SD. Our mission is to improve transportation in San Diego through public education, community events, and grassroots organizing. Some of our notable works include successfully advocating for the tap to pay on transit, so being able to pay with your mobile wallet or credit card. We do a lot of public events that educate the public on transportation. Here, for example, is a tour of the MTS rail yards that we did. Down here, we have a workshop that we held in Oceanside for a redevelopment of their transit center to get community members, educated about what's being proposed. And we also have policy fellowships for graduate students who research solutions to local problems. So this residential permit parking program that we're going to talk about here is something being workshopped by one of those graduate students from Chula Vista, currently studying at the University of Virginia. So next slide, Marlon. So first of all, what is residential permit parking? It's a policy tool that regulates on-street parking by reserving it for residents of a defined area through the issuance of parking permits. These programs are designed to reduce congestion from non-resident parking, preserve access for residents, and manage limited curbside space. This is according to the U.S. Department of Transportation. Has anyone heard of a residential permit parking program before? A few hands. Gotcha. Next slide. So the city actually has a few. However, most of these that the city has serves the purpose of keeping out commuters. For example, college area, the permit parking system there serves the purpose to keep SDSU students from like parking in the nearby neighborhoods. The area A is by the Hillcrest Medical Complex area. A lot of hospitals, a lot of nurses. The parking permit program there is in place to keep those people out, those commuters from parking in there. Area D, Buddy Logan, similar issue. People would park there and go to Petco Park, and residents were frustrated about that. Area F, Cortez Hill, is actually like a unique thing. It's for a small amount of Cortez Hill residents who just want to be able to park longer than a 2-hour meter allows. Very niche case there. But most of them serve the purpose of keeping people out of the neighborhood, which is fine. They serve that purpose. However, it doesn't actually manage parking within the neighborhood itself. And so, for example, a few years ago, I was actually canvassing in the college area and talking to people, voters, like, hey, so what are like biggest issues in this neighborhood? And they would say parking. And I would say, well, don't you have a residential permit parking program? Why is parking still a big issue? Well, that's because, you know, the lonely couple with one car gets a permit, but the house with 5 SDSU students next to it, they all get permits as well. And there's only like 2 to 3 parking spots in front of every house. So like giving 5 SDSU kids who live like a quarter mile from campus 5 permits kind of defeats or just doesn't actually serve to manage parking effectively, because now you still have a lot of people competing over a limited amount of space. So this current ways they work in the city serves one purpose, keeping people out, but we think it could serve also the purpose of managing parking within the neighborhood and reduce frustrations. So next slide. But first I want to talk about something called the tragedy of the commons. This is often discussed in law school when not managing a public resource results in a tragic situation for everyone. And the example that's often given is you have a pasture, very nice green pasture with a lot of healthy grass in it, and local farmers in the community find out about it and they all bring their cows to it. However, if nobody regulates the, you know, how many cows can be there at a time, and everybody just lets their cows eat at the pasture unregulated, over time, it'll just turn into a dead field because people were not giving it time to say, hey, we need to stop the cows from eating, or there's too many cows, we need to let the grass regrow. This is an issue that happens with a lot of public resources. In this case, the public resource is a public pasture. However, street parking is also a public resource that's owned by everyone in the city. So let's go on to the next slide. So we have our own incoming tragedy of the commons. So street parking is a public resource, but more homes are being built with no off-street parking. And then many of those residents moving into those homes are still bringing their cars, which then overburdens the existing street parking, creating even greater frustrations. You know, the administration will tell us that folks can, you know, walk, bike, or take transit if they move into those buildings. But the reality is that a lot of those people still try to bring their cars in the neighborhood. And if we don't manage street parking, a public resource, we will reach our own tragedy of the commons, in which there are more cars than there are parking spaces, and there's increased traffic on the roads, which we, you know, whimsically call Carmageddon. Some of the neighborhoods we presented to, like North Park, they feel like they're already here. Other neighborhoods are worrying that they're getting here. So we have this incoming tragedy of the commons. We want to resolve this and stop this. Next slide. But I want to discuss the elephant in the room here. Anyone want to say it out? No? Next slide, Marlon. Why don't we just require parking in new developments? Is the elephant in the room, and a question that gets brought up all the time, which is honestly a valid question that would, in a way, could solve the problems. It doesn't really stop people from parking in the street, even if they have their own parking spot. I mean, there are people who have driveways and garages and they still choose to park in the street. So it doesn't solve that issue, but it will solve some issues. But why don't we do that? Well, for political realities. Go on to the next slide, Marlon. The political reality is that state laws prohibit cities from enacting parking minimums on developments that meet certain criteria. The city of San Diego actually still has parking minimums in a lot of places where state laws don't apply. There's a lot of cities in the US that don't have parking minimums, but San Diego still has some. And the state legislature, including San Diego's local delegation, are moving full steam ahead with liberalizing housing development. And this is not changing anytime soon. At least I'm someone who keeps track of, the state legislature and local laws, and the momentum to liberalize housing development is only increasing. So the reality is that underparked buildings will continue to be built in the near future. There's not at least at this moment, a political appetite to scale back the new housing laws that are being passed. Next slide, Marlon.
Can I just ask?
Yeah.
Marlon, that first bullet's true?
Say that again?
That first bullet is true? What, the city can't enforce parking minimums on new projects?
On certain projects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's staying on?
Because
TPA, it's only applies to TPAs.
No, no.
TPAs,
Yeah.
SPAs.
Transit priority areas.
Yeah. But I've never done a project that didn't have to meet parking bars. So I was just trying to reconcile that first bullet.
Yeah, there's a lot of projects being built around TPA, the North Park, with little to no parking.
It's projects near transit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a transit.
TPAs and SBAs.
CPA, so anything that gets built is more than enough street parking, which is really.
About 60% of this. Never seen it out in the language.
Okay, thanks for that. Next slide. I also want to give another photo here. These are all the leading Democratic gubernatorial candidates, and this is at a forum hosted by California YIMBY. And they were all talking about here, this was a few days ago, they were all talking about how they were gonna, streamline and cut red tape to support more housing development. So the next slide, please. We have to work on solutions that fit our current political reality. Right as does not see parking being required anytime soon on new developments, and we don't see the state laws changing anytime soon. So we want to address the elephant in the room, which is why don't we just do this? Well, unless you can change half the state legislature overnight, we don't see that happening very soon. So next slide, Marlon. So how can we design residential permit parking programs to better manage parking? Next slide. Well, let's talk about some goals, right? Right as these goals for what we're going to propose is one, to create parking certainty for residents. So if you're driving home after work, you're not going to circle the block for 20 minutes and park half a mile away. We want you to be able to drive to your neighborhood and be like, okay, there's going to be a spot close to my house, and I'm not going to be frustrated about that. Second of all, our goal is to impact or to mitigate the impact of new housing with no parking or reduced parking in it. And our third goal is also to reduce traffic. These are the goals that we're keeping in mind as we try to propose solutions. Next slide, Marlon. The solution that we're currently workshopping and getting feedback in for is called Neighborhood Choice Residential Permit Parking. So Neighborhood Choice RPP. The city should adopt a new residential permit parking program that allows communities to design it themselves. So first of all, these should be started by a neighborhood petition, similar to how assessment districts are started by petition. And then once the petition hits a certain amount of signatures, every resident is mailed a form saying, how do you want parking permits to be distributed? And there will be options about how they want those parking permits distributed. And the form will also ask residents how much visitor parking should there be in the neighborhood and how that should be managed. But key to this, and this is a little bit radical in a way, is the number of permits should be capped at or near the number of parking spaces in the neighborhood. Next slide. Capping the number of permits to the number of spaces on the street is a key component to success, because if you don't do this, you don't prevent any frustrations, because there's still going to be a situation in which there's too many people trying to park in a place which just doesn't have enough space for all of them. So if you wouldn't be able to receive a permit, well, then you'll be on a wait list for a permit and receive the next one as it becomes available. Next slide. What is the intended impact of this type of program? One, create certainty and peace of mind. If you have a permit, there's going to be a spot for you, no more circling around the neighborhood for a long time. Second of all is to prevent Carmageddon. New people who move into the neighborhood in a place that doesn't have off-street parking for them are going to be on that wait list for a parking permit when they move in. So they won't be able to bring in their car, at least not right away, into the neighborhood, which solves the issue of too many people trying to bring in cars in the neighborhood. Third, intended impact is to increase a mode share and reduce traffic. Those new folks moving in won't be able to bring in their car, at least not right away, and so they'll have to walk, bike, or take transit, and kind of put the, you know, how I want to tell the city is like put your money where your mouth is, because the city says these new people moving in can take walk, bike, or take transit. Well, let's make that happen. Let's make sure that actually does happen. So next slide. Let's talk about some possible permit distribution methods, because this is where, you know, we really get to it. If we cap the number of permits, we have to make sure that the residents or the community picks a permit distribution option that they're comfortable with. And each one is going to have their own trade-offs and their own, you know, arguments for and against. Go on to the next slide. The first one is to have a priority group where permits are distributed first to people who meet a criteria and then first come, first serve after. So for example, the community can say that we want people whose livelihood, education, healthcare, or family care depends on them having a car. They should all get a permit first, you know? And then after all those people get a permit, then you do first come, first serve. So for example, you know, going back to the college area, you know, there's 100 spaces, and let's say there's 100 spaces, and there's 40 people who meet the criteria, who their hospital is only accessible by car, or their job is only accessible by car, or something. Then they get the permit first, and they're a priority group. The 5 SDSU students who live, you know, less than a quarter mile from campus and are able-bodied are not going to be in that priority group. They're going to have to, you know, apply and be on a wait list like everyone else. That is an example, one possible distribution method. Next one. Another one is just having it first come, first serve. Everyone applies, and whoever, you know, just distribute them first come, first serve. Next slide. Another one is first come, first serve and market price. So, you know, selling the permits at like the city. There's a study that says each parking spot is worth this amount of money. We're going to sell the permits for this amount of money. So it's, if $50 per year, we sell them at $50 per year. Whoever pays for them first. Next slide. You can also do market price and priority group. Still have the priority group, but still also charge market price for it. And next slide. Or you could just do it randomly. You know, everyone applies and it's random who gets picked to have a permit. And I'm not saying these are all the options. These options have changed a lot. Like as we do community engagement, we want to hear from folks like what they are comfortable with or what they see as feasible and whatnot. But these are just some example possibilities of how these permits could be distributed. Next slide. What about visitor parking? Okay, let's get to that. The visitor parking, residents should also be able to select how much visitor parking to have. So when they get that form asking how they want the distribution process, there should also be questions about like, how much visitor parking should the neighborhood have? 2%, 5%, 10%, custom amount, enter your own. Residents should also indicate if visitors should need a pass to park. And residents should also indicate on the form how they would like visitors to park. Would you prefer that they have designated visitor parking in some part of the neighborhood? Or would you prefer that they be able to park anywhere in the neighborhood as long as they have a guest pass? A guest pass, which you can just go to the city website and get for your guests. So that's how we approach visitor parking here. Next slide. So let's talk about initiation and implementation. So this would be initiated by residents gathering a petition with signatures. And after the certain amount of signatures is received and the city confirms it, then every resident is then mailed a form to you know, kind of fill out, first of all, do you want this, yes or no? And if so, like which distribution method would you like for the permits and how would you like visitor parking to be managed? And then once then everybody mails that back to the city, or it can also be online. And then implementation. The city then takes in all those forms and sees which of the distribution systems rank the highest and which visitor method system ranked the highest. And then the city then implements that method. And then the city then mails every resident, again, the instructions on how to apply for a permit based on the distribution method that they selected. And so, next slide. One more thing too, we think that in these zones, the city should do 3 key things. One is maximize the number of parking spaces by marking T's on the street. The city can go out and measure a street and say, okay, this amount of cars can fit in, let's mark it in there. Because if you don't mark T's, people typically park like with off spaces in between and that can actually add up.
I'm doing that already.
Yeah, or some people purposely do that to like kind of leave space for like someone to come back and take a spot that they were taking two of, you know? So we think the city should like mark the spaces on the street just to make sure that there's always a maximum number of spaces at all times in the neighborhood. Second of all, we think the city should add more parking spaces by allowing people to park in front of their own driveway. I mean, if it's your own driveway, you know, you're not worried about, you know, you're blocking it yourself, you can move your own car. We think that it makes sense to allow people to park in front of your own driveway and you add more parking spaces that way. And third of all, we think that we should allow self-enforcement of this. For example, in a apartment building garage complex, you can call a tow truck on someone that's parked illegally in the building, or not illegally, but against the rules of the building, right? Someone doesn't have the resident permit pass for that apartment structure parking garage. You can call the tow truck and get them his way. We think the same should apply here. We got this feedback from groups who said that SDPD takes a really long time to get to things. So we think, okay, well then just be able to call a tow truck yourself and get that result in a quicker amount of time. So next slide. So that was a lot. So I'll open it up to questions and discussions. And one more clarification I want to make is that this is for residential neighborhoods, not like commercial business district areas. And you know, this is just for primarily residential neighborhoods.
Thank you, Manny. Okay, we'll open it up, David.
So I just want to start with, for those communities who want it, I think this proposal brings real honesty to transit-oriented development. Because you think about how it works right now, you're renting an apartment. You go in at, you know, 1 in the afternoon to see the apartment, you're shown around and they say, hey, doesn't come with parking. So you realize you're gonna have to park on the street. You look around, everyone's gone for work. You say, great, I can make that work. But then when it comes down to time for the reality, what you find is by 6:30, which is the case in Normal Heights, all the street parking is gone. So what you really have is a system where parking is distributed by those who get home from work first. And maybe you should give some consideration for those whose shifts end at 11 or midnight or 2 a.m. So when you also think about it, this is also a form of public disclosure. You see these signs that a parking permit area is here. You have public disclosure that you're in an airport zone, noise zone, but they don't tell you that there's really no street parking after 6 p.m. at night. That's just something you find out after you've signed the lease. So I think for those communities who want it, this could be a real improvement for how things are currently working in the neighborhoods.
Thank you, David.
Right, so I just have some, I guess, cleanup questions about how we can implement this. From my understanding, you aren't allowed to pursue residential parking permits unless you have an established parking district. I know the city does want to do away with all the parking districts, so where does this fit into that? Is the city pursuing actually getting rid of parking districts? Are they expanding the residential parking outside of parking districts? And where is that today?
Yeah, so I can speak to that. I've read the local municipal code around residential permit parking. I don't recall it requiring a parking district. To my understanding, Florida Logan does not have a parking district and they have a permit parking program. It's not a requirement for it. The two often interact, but it's not a requirement to have a parking district.
Downtown.
Thank you very much for the presentation, good information. Question, in a couple of different slides, you talk about selling these permits. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking that might create a bidding situation where the haves and have not turning on the effective differently.
Yeah.
Can you address that?
That would not be, you know, the one I would recommend for most neighborhoods, but it is an option. We did hear from certain stakeholders who thought that should be an option. Some people thought that certain neighborhoods might prefer that. Other stakeholders, like typically, also were just more the belief of like, you know, let the market decide, like, you know, the different views led to us including that in there. One thing I also didn't include there was another option that was suggested was also auctioning off the permits, but you know, I don't think that would be very popular to implement, so we didn't include that in there. But the reason we included those options is we did hear stakeholder input from people who thought like, you know, more affluent neighborhoods might actually want options like that.
And with that, I recommend ceiling.
Ceilings? Yeah, thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Guy?
Yes, do you have examples of cities that are using this?
Yeah, so we're looking into that right now. Our research fellow is looking into that, but one for sure is Arlington.
Virginia or Texas?
Arlington, Virginia. They have very similar things. I don't believe they have a cap, but they're also not as densely like populated as San Diego, if I recall correctly. But they, they had like, distribution systems, priority groups and priority methods, like special permits, for special types of people. And so that is one example of
Well,
Arlington.
the reason I ask that is because I'm thinking about, the person who can barely pay the rent on a one-bedroom apartment, and to do so, gets a roommate. All right, and the roommate, works in another direction, so we have one bedroom, 2 cars. Eliminate the 2 cars, how's the person get to work? There are places in San Diego, I don't go anymore because of the parking meter problem. I don't go to La Jolla anymore. I don't go to very many places in North Park anymore. I've taken them off the table. Usually when I was going to someplace in North Park around 30th Street, I would end up parking on a residential street, within a block or 2 of where I wanted to go. It's off the table now. Don't go downtown anymore either. What for? The parking has become unbelievably hard to use. So I don't see where this is a viable way to handle the problem that we have with keep having people who grow up and go to work and need transportation to get there, and public transportation is not the answer because it doesn't go where you need to go.
Thanks, Guy. To address your scenario in which the person accepts a roommate, that roommate would be moving in knowing this spot does not have, or this residential neighborhood has a permit district in place. And they would move in knowing, if I move in here, I need to have a job that is accessible by transit, foot, or bike. They have to make a decision. No one is forcing them to move into that neighborhood. That person has to willingly choose to live in that neighborhood and to live car light or car free.
In the back.
Yeah, it seems pretty complex. Who would be managing all of this? And will the O&A expenses, this your company would be managing all of the permits and all of that?
No, so Right is a nonprofit org. We don't have capacity to do this type of stuff. Our expectation would be that the city manages it. And we're also currently, our fellow is meeting with other municipalities and agencies that have done this. SDSU has something similar on campus for how they distribute parking garage passes for their on-campus students. You need to really, really prove that you need a car for your livelihood or job to get a permit as a first or second year in SDSU. So we're going to meet with them and say, hey, how much does this cost to implement? What are the bureaucratic expenses like? How many staffers do you need? So that research is ongoing right now.
Okay, I think we're. What happens if someone moves away? What happens to their permit?
Yeah, so on that, we're envisioning right now, nothing concrete, but we're envisioning like an annual review cycle. That can look like you get a letter in the mail saying, please sign here and provide proof like like a utility bill that you still live here, and you still need this permit.
Then what process would be used for the petitioning? Is there like a standardized one?
There's a standardized one that the assessment districts use, the maintenance assessment district, the business improvement districts. We'll probably just copy that unless you have better ideas.
Okay, and there's some areas of town, in North Park, corridor, the places like that, where the streets are really wide, and you could add a lot of parking by putting in diagonal spacing. Would this be part of your ordinance?
We would, technically to do a street configuration change like that, you don't really need well, it depends on a lot of things if you need a city council vote or not to do a street conversion. Our position would be that if you're going to institute a cap on permits, you should maximize first the number of parking spaces and see, okay, if the cap is going to be 100, but if we do a conversion on this street, we can add 20 more spaces, and now the cap's 120. So we would urge the city to do those configurations, those conversions, mark the T's on the street, and before they impose the cap, like maximize every space you can, and then impose the cap. That would be our approach.
Existing residents, and then, we're on the breakdown on ADUs or 4 units and Would the existing residents have priority over the ADUs, tenants?
Is this assuming that the program's already in place?
Yeah.
So the program's already in place. The resident, they built 4 ADUs. Let's say every permit has already been distributed. People who move into those ADUs will then have to apply. And because all the permits have been distributed, they're on the wait list. So they won't be able to bring their cars in. And if they do try to bring their cars, well, they can get towed or they can get ticketed. But once the program is in place and once the permits have been distributed, and assuming all the permits have been distributed, there might be some neighborhoods where it's like, oh, actually, there's like no wait list and you can get a permit if you want because it's not as densely populated, for example. But other neighborhoods like North Park, I can envision the permits being like gone in a few days, right?
Yeah, hunting license.
A hunting license, basically like a hunting license for parking, you know? So you build those ADUs, those people moving in, they would move in knowing they can't bring their cars. And if they want to bring a car, they have to apply on a wait list and wait till a permit becomes available.
Okay, folks, I'm going to bring it just to board members right now, because we just have a couple follow-up and we're short on time. And I'd like David to be able to give his presentation, but we're gonna run out and I know people want that. So I'm just gonna go down, whoever's got their hand at 1, 2, 3, who else? 3, 4 board members, and then we're gonna move on to the next item. So Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, a quick question. Have you dipped your toes in the water of the coastal zone yet? Or are you just gonna stay out of that for the time being?
For the time being, I will stay out of that.
Which is probably the central thing. Okay, that's my question.
Thank you.
Sure, I'll give you the easy one, which is, and then I'll give you the elephant. How does the priority groups scale for seasonality? And I'm thinking summer's around, yes, you can't say. Would you have a way of making those permits that were taken by students made available to residents during that off season?
That's a good consideration.
We can make sure.
Yeah, we'll look into that.
Okay. The elephant is, the bids and nads are expensive and we're seeing pushback already in Normal Heights for Acorn street lamps. After the trash tax and the increase in the utilities, electrical, people are just really tired of getting nickel and dimed. So I'm seeing that as a big hurdle, actually. And in answer to your question, in terms of the doing the votes, the CPGs usually will take care of handling election, promoting an idea and then collecting the votes and the petitions and work with the city for funneling that back to them.
Overseas.
So is Bride San Diego affiliated with Circulate?
No.
No? Okay, so if it becomes more lucrative to have parking passes, will you get rid of bike lanes to put in cars? I know it's a cheeky question, but I just I don't see that this is, I mean, I understand it in the middle of the city. It is seems overwhelming. So as far as like having more management from the city, more.
We can charge you a fee for that.
So I know we're short on time.
Okay, yeah, let's.
All right, all I had was, this
Manuel.
doesn't sound any different than the initial examples you gave of the permit system, keeping out other people. And you're doing the same thing here on this. The big problem I see is the priority situation where existing residents have been there for 25 years. Do they get bumped because of policeman or policewoman of a high priority, I guess, moves in? Would they get their permit theoretically, or a nurse or somebody? The existing people versus the priority, so-called priority people is going to be a problem. And it's always been thought of as a public resource, a public property that they can park on. So that's a big change. I don't know if people are ready for.
Yeah, that's what we're doing, this community engagement. Some neighborhoods say they're ready for it, others are not seeing it. With regards to your point of like, well, what if all the permits are distributed, but someone who qualifies in a priority group moves in? Does someone get their permit taken away? Our current position on that is that no, that priority person moving in should know moving into a neighborhood that all the permits are already distributed. And they should make that conscious decision if I'm moving into a neighborhood knowing that I won't have a place to park a car. That is a decision that they are making. No one is making them do in a neighborhood. However, we are also thinking that, well, then if they're a priority class member, then maybe they should be the first on the wait list. Is a potential consideration. Others think, no, they're moving into the neighborhood knowing what the deal was, they shouldn't be bumped up on a wait list. If you have thoughts on that, let me know, because we want to.
And lastly,
So just last comment real quick, I'm having a hard time with the concept of treating city streets like HOAs and apartment complexes. And the idea of self-enforcement and not having buy-in from SDPD and the city itself, because I think when you get out in a city street, it's a different world than HOA land. And when people start self-enforcing, I think that sets up inherent conflict with neighbors, and it could be very ugly and dangerous. So my thought is parking enforcement is something that might be a better tool than self-enforcement.
Thank you for that feedback.
okay, with that, thank you, Manny. Appreciate you guys, you coming out. Thank you for. Very good. Very good. And we are going to go ahead and move on. Yeah, sorry.
These pictures are mine.
Oh, yeah, Marcy.
No, he wanted.
These pictures are mine. I just taken them in my neighborhood some time ago. So some neighborhoods have, you know, well, red zone or out double parking in the alleys, but I'm ready to go
Yeah.
800-14.
Oh, you want to do, oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
my bad.
He told me, yeah.
I thought he was gonna be
We're
that.
just gonna make y'all sit here a little bit longer.
So I know we're running low on time now. So this is the presentation I saw at the city's Park and Rec Board. Next slide. Okay, next slide. Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, 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 or-
Well, oh yeah, just go one more slide. Okay, there are 7 prioritization factors: legal and health and safety, asset condition and levels, service, equal and equitable community investment, sustainability and conservation, funding. These last 3 are the minor categories: funding availability, project readiness, and bundling opportunities. Next slide. This is the actual sheet from Council Policy 800-14. These are the scores. They're not the same across all asset categories. They only talked about parks at the Park and Rec Board, so that's what I will sort of use as my template for explanation. I don't know if you can even see those scores. Next slide. Next slide. So this is the actual system of scoring that was created by engineering and capital projects. So they took those 18 points in legal compliance and health and safety, and they broke them out into these separate categories. 8 points for safety, 4 points for health impact, 6 points for legal requirements. I will just sort of note that for health impact, you can score points if a park facility or equipment has been removed. So you've lost access to the park or to the equipment. So there are health impacts in the community, and therefore you can score more points for replacing that equipment or that facility. However, I will also note that you don't score any points for the absence of the facility. So if you have no access at all to the sports equipment or to the park playing fields, you don't get any health impact points. This is something that's odd to me. I'll just say that. Down here, legally mandated, their first order of business, are they at risk of a lawsuit? That certainly fills the city with fear. Legally mandated by, the climate action plan or the ADA compliance, things like that. Next slide. Next, condition and level of service. What you need to understand is these add up to 25 points, and these add up to 25 points. So you've got 2 ways of looking at it. Repairing equipment is up here, new facilities is down here. So quality of service, if the conditions are poor, you can score up to 12 points. Useful life, or is it costing a lot in operations and maintenance? For example, in my neighborhood, there's a set of street lights that go out every time it rains, and they were getting frustrated over how often repair crews had to come out and fix the lights 2 or 3 times a year. If it's a new facility, you can score up to 18 points if it's high ranking for the Parks Master Plan and for Climate Action Plan. I don't know if what exactly that means. I mean, they sort of talk about as if it's something that's recommended in those plans and like how specific are those plans. It doesn't seem to accurately apply to what you're actually working on. It's strange. Here's an interesting one. The 7 points that go between both is you can score more points if you're in an area with a high population density, and you can score slightly fewer points if your areas experience significant population growth. However, there's no baseline for either of those. Is your population density higher or lower than the city average? Is it some other number? Is your experience significant population growth? Is it higher or lower than the city average? What's your baseline for starting that calculation? Is it year 2000? Is it 2010? In smaller communities, population growth can be very chunky along with development. You get one large development and then nothing happens for several years. So a baseline that's very few years in the past is really kind of unfair, but there's no specificity in this that engineering capital projects develop. Next slide. And then slide after that. Slide after that. Equal and equitable community investment. This is almost a yes/no kind of question. If your facility is within the defined boundaries of a structurally excluded community or a census tract, or it's a promise zone or a defined community of concern, or possibly now the environmental justice communities, they haven't worked that into the definitions, but they should, but they haven't yet. You get the whole 20 points. If you're very close by, you get 75% of the points. And if your project advances access for people of all ages and abilities, probably a very disabled ADA sort of focused facility, then you get 50% of the points. Next slide, and then slide. Sustainability and conservation, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, and then 5 adds up to 25. Greenhouse gases, climate resiliency, water conservation, energy independence, decarbonization, climate equity. But it doesn't really tell you anything about what kind of facility does these things that can score you these points. Also, it's very unlikely you will have any of these things until you've done a little bit of design work first. So that's just sort of another perplexity to me. Slide. Slide again. These are the minor categories, 5, 3, 5, 5, and 2. Funding availability, if you can get a big donor, it gets you lots of extra points. Well, it gets you 5 extra points. Whether you're further or shorter along in the project design phase, gets you points. And bundling opportunities, this is actually the category I suggested 12 years ago when they came to CPC to talk about 800-14. You notice that back in 2022, they did not come to CPC. We did not have any input on this. Just more evidence of sort of the more top-down governance style we have in the city that's sort of non-participatory. Next slide. All right. Here's the big thing that I learned. In this example, Park and Rec creates a needs list and submits the project to engineering. Engineering are the people who actually score it. What I learned at the meeting is that if your project exceeds the funds available, they don't even bother to send it to engineering for scoring. So if you're in a community that has a great deficit or is in serious need of something, and you could score a lot of points on your project, there's no visibility to your project further up the chain of command in the city. You are stopped here, and I guess it's see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil further up the chain of command. You're simply, your deficit is simply unrecognized. So they score it, SIPRAC evaluates it, mayor's management team reviews it in the orange section, and then at the yellow section, all the politics come into play, and at the end of the day, your project is chosen for reasons of horse trading in the mayor's office. So that might be the end of my very sped up. Yes, that's the end. Any questions?
So if your project doesn't have enough funds, it doesn't get looked at by engineering, because if it did, it could go farther through the process and pick up funding because council or the others can see that it's a worthwhile project.
It could, but it doesn't, yeah.
So funds coming from where? The city?
The city, State, federal funding, outside donors.
So is that up to the community itself to find the funds and present them to engineering? I mean,
The donors could, but the state and federal funding that the city would have to put in a grant.
Someone's will left us $4 million for the new library.
The Roma Heights is installing a community garden right now, and the city has agreed to allow us onto their land to build it, but it is entirely at our own expense. So it's 25,000 to run the water line installed by the city. And then they'll issue us a special use permit, which we will pay for. So the only thing they've given us is mulch in kind donation, but we've raised 6,000 and we're applying for more in grants. So that's an example of it's fully funded from outside, it's project managed from outside, it's just handed to them on a silver platter.
so, and that's a nonprofit that's asking for money to create a community garden in our park.
Yeah, that's the community planning group and two nonprofit entities and local businesses and then community donations.
Yeah, we've done it for a pocket park and same thing.
Gotcha.
David, is this a situation where a seat at the table will allow the CBG or the CPC to bypass all those stops and bring it up to council? Is a seat at the table an opportunity to stop Parks and Recs from not even having private scene?
I don't really see that really applying in this case. I mean, what we really need is just to get these things scored so that they can see your deficit and see your need, and rather than pretending that they don't see it.
We were talking about this for the BMT, using this type of scoring system for that, instead of it being a faucet on, faucet off, or the priority areas, you know.
I just think when you go back to those scoring categories that I ran through very quickly, there's a lot more specificity that needs to be in those. And they need to be more, this is the first time I've ever seen those engineering scoring system. And it was like, it's been a black box for 4 years.
Okay, thank you very much, David. Appreciate it. Okay, and then Marlon.
Oh, just three quick updates before my computer starts to do an automatic update. We're starting the Otay Mesa Nestor Plan update. So if you're interested in getting more information, sign up at sandiego.gov/plan Otay Mesa Nestor, as well as Rancho Bernardo. We're going to start an update up there. So if you're interested, sign up at sandiego.gov/plan RB. And then the last one I wanted to mention is that from our mobility staff, recently the city of San Diego announced the release of its comprehensive speed management plan, a citywide data-informed strategy to reduce vehicle speeds in areas allowed under state law and advance the city's Vision Zero commitment to eliminate traffic fatalities and serious injuries. I don't have a website address for that, but I can send that to Victoria and I can tell you guys where that can be located. And that's it.
Okay, do you have a question for Marlon?
Real quick, those funds include, traffic stops and deter DUI.
I do not know. I haven't read that report yet, but because it deals with reducing fatalities and signage could be one of those things, there might be need mention.
Okay, chair's report. I do actually have one for once. Both Felicity and I were at the Rules Committee, got an invitation from President LaCava for us to come down because they were going to be discussing SB 707, which we have not had on the table, but it has to do with public meetings and public comment and timing, but it's specifically to virtual. But he invited us because he felt that this kind of was in the same spirit of.
And I would say SB 707 is a mandate from the state, and it's extremely consequential because city council, or at least the rules committee, is talking about amending the rules before city council in trying to do the equalization that SB 707 calls for, making the time for virtual participants the same as in-person participants, means that they're considering taking away time seating, which is probably not a good idea. They might recognize it's not a good idea, and they have other options on the table that are related to allowing for group presentations, so that equalizes the in-person presentations and the virtual presentations, but that is kind of fraught with its own set of problems. We distinguish seat at the table from all of that. So,
Yeah,
just to put it in context.
having said that, March 18th is the actual action item at the Rules Committee. And we are gonna be looking for 5 volunteers to join us down there at City Council, at the Rules Committee, so they can, guess what, seed time, so that we can give a thorough presentation on a seat at the table with examples. So if you are interested in March 18th, join with Felicity and I and ceding some time to us. Please email me. It will go before Rules Committee, and even if we get no traction there, we're still gonna, once it goes before City Council, we'll do it again. So we're just gonna keep pushing, but bringing that up, I just wanted to thank the following community planning groups. You've at least had a seat at the table on your agenda, so thank you for that. Some have sent emails in, which is the most important part of that, is to get emails to President LaCava and the other 8 council members, so that they understand just how serious CPC is about a seat at the table. We want to make sure and just keep putting information in front of them. So if you guys have already, if your planning group made a decision on supporting this or not, and they have, please make sure and get an email. And if you could copy it to me, if you forgot to copy it to me, if you could send that to me, that would be great. I'm trying to track it. But at least the ones that are up there have voted, and their planning groups have looked at it. We had 22 planning groups that voted for this. I think there's like 14, 12 there, something. So if we could, those that did vote for this, if we could encourage you to do that this month. And if March 18th is the Rules Committee. So I know you might not be in time to get it there, but as your planning groups do this, and if you can get that letter, the sooner the better, in front of President LaCava and the rest of the board members, or council members, that would be great. Last, just a quick note on abstentions. We had a couple today. Just a reminder that when you are voting, there's only 3 reasons. You need to give a reason for an abstention. That's part of is it Brown Act, or what is it? Rules, rules?
Yeah, parliamentary procedure, because we're here to do votes, and if you can't do that based on the information you've heard. You either abstain and mention a reason, or you vote no.
Right.
Or you have a conflict.
Or you have a conflict of interest of some sort. So I just wanted to remind you on that. And elections are coming up for planning groups. So as you guys do your elections, please make sure, tell Marlon, if there's changes, if there's chair changes, that's probably later, but if you can inform CPC when you have some information on your planning groups, that helps me with emails and contacts and all of that, because it's a long list. And then annual reports will be coming due after that. Your approved March meeting minutes, annual reports are due 14 days after that. So likely at the April timeframe, you'll have that annual meeting. So I'm sure Marlon will be putting that stuff out to us, but we've had a couple planning groups ask about it. So with that, thank you. Oh, yes.
Just wanted to say, La Jolla, I just found out La Jolla has it on their agenda for March, which is March 5th, I think.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Paul?
For the annual report, remember to put in your demographics. There's certain things you have to do under the new policy. So if you have any questions, you can always contact me.
And Eric.
It's for Marlin. There's a clarification, it's SB 707. As I read the text, it says the only cities in which neighborhood councils, so CPGs could kind of be read in to be that. It seems in 707 applies only to cities with 3 million or more. So it should not impact CPGs or town councils or any of that sort of thing. And and I've got that from an actual legal advisor. So I'd like clarification from that, or at least a statement from the city, so that we're not gyrating unnecessarily.
All right.
Thank you.
And there's a big emphasis on legislative bodies, which our groups are independent volunteer groups, so that's the spirit of it all, so.
All right, thank you very much. Roll your
Nice.